How's it going, everyone? Toasty here with another video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, and today we have something a bit different. We're going to be going over the 5-year anniversary banners that dropped on the Japan server at the beginning of the year to see which of these two banners is the better when it comes to overall value. We aren't talking about value as in stones per summon, since they will be exactly the same, but more on the featured pool of SSRs and which ones are worth pulling for more than the other. The way we're going to be going about this is by comparing the banners and acting as if we were a newer player who doesn't really have many or any of these cards at all, since most of the time the value of a banner really does depend on what cards you already have in your box. We're going to be using some more assets from DBZ Space for this video. It's one of the better resources for Dokkan Battle images aside from the wiki, and I'm going to be leaving the link in the description as always for any and all websites used in this video. Now without further ado, let's get on with the video. So we're starting off with the assumption that these banners, when they do drop, will be exactly the same as what JP got. We have had banner changes in the past, but anniversary banners have stayed consistent throughout, so it's a little safer to rely on this roadmap than it is for most other banners. Starting off with the Gogeta banner, we're going to start at the older units and work our way over to the newer, more exciting stuff afterward. So here at Int Janemba, which is a really solid unit to have in your box. Once Extreme Z awakened, he's kitted out with guard, medium chance of evasion, and solid attack and defense boost. Overall, a very reliable card for movie bosses and transformation boost, but unfortunately, those are his only two categories. Strength Omega also suffers from similar issues since he's only on 3 categories, but once Extreme Z awakened, he has insane damage mitigation, lowering enemy attack by 40% and also supporting full power teams with a nice Ki plus 2 and attack plus 40%. Next up we have Int Super Gogeta, which at the moment is overshadowed by Strength Gogeta's EZA, but that's okay because Int Gogeta is a solid damage dealer at the moment, and since we've entered the era of 120% type lead Extreme Z Awakenings, I'm sure Gogeta's is coming up soon, and when it does come, he'll likely be a pretty insane card. He's on 5 categories including Last Resort, which is led by either the new Gogeta or Vegeta, and all of the categories he's part of are pretty good in general. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on the other hand is a more solid unit currently, but he won't be getting an EZA anytime soon. Solid attack, he lowers enemy attack and defense by 20%, and he can evade and counter enemy super attacks. His kit is pretty good overall, but unfortunately he only has 4 categories including Last Resort, but the categories are pretty strong overall, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue for him. Physical LR Goku and Vegeta, I shouldn't really have to explain, are very good, as even without their fusion, they're a really solid unit to have that can be put on many different teams. Broly Movie Gogeta is also another obviously great unit. He leads the movie heroes and fusion teams along with being a part of a solid 6 categories including Last Resort. He's also one of the only cards in the game that is capable of performing a critical hit, additional attack, and evasion without the hidden potential system. So being as kitted out as he is, he's a great card with great animations too. Dragon Ball Super Broly is also pretty great overall. He's the leader of the full power and movie bosses categories. He boasts high damage output along with pretty much never needing too much ki, and in his untransformed state he can super all enemies on the field, so very useful for the World Tournament. He isn't on Last Resort, but he does have 6 really good categories under his belt. LR Int Cell is a bit of a controversial figure for a lot of people since in his untransformed state he doesn't do all the damage in the game, but he's not too bad at taking damage. His transformation restriction isn't all that bad, especially when compared to Gohan's, and once transformed he is a bit of a beast. Skipping over to Bardock for just a second before we get to Gogeta, this is the new sub-leader for the movie heroes category and a damn fine unit overall. He has a ton of attack boost in his passive and also a real solid defense. The active skill on this guy can remove all debuffs your cards currently have and provide a 22% attack boost to allies for 2 turns. He's only capable of being run on 4 categories, but still a really good unit to pull. Now onto the titular character himself, we have LR Strength Gogeta. He's the leader of Last Resort and Fusion categories, so he has good attack, good defense, he launches additionals with medium chance of it being a super attack with the ability to evade attack when in the 3rd slot of a turn. He stacks defense when transformed and is super effective to all types when in the first 2 slots. It's possible to run him on 6 categories including the category he leads with Vegeta, and all of those categories are some pretty damn good categories. Not necessarily relative to the Vegeta banner, but just an overall rating, I give this banner a solid 8 out of 10. It would be higher, but I just had to dock points for one main reason. Omega and Janemba just don't fit too well on the banner, and you can make a case that LR Int Cell doesn't either. What I mean by this is that these three, and even Broly really, can't be run under Gogeta's leader skill, or don't run that well with Gogeta on other teams, and that takes a huge chunk out of the featured units that are able to. Moving on to the Vegeta banner, we have Physical Vegeta Blue, which is an absolute beast. Once Easy 8, he gets 40% attack and defense boost, great chance of launching up to 2 additionals with medium chance of them becoming supers, takes 40% less damage on normal attack and counters normals. He also has essentially infinitely stacking attack stat since his super has the Cow Ken effect. He's on 6 different categories, more like 5 I guess since Future Saga and Time Travelers are so similar, but either way a really good number of categories. Tech Merge Zamasu is pretty solid after Easy A since he does have good damage mitigation and can support his extreme class allies pretty well. But he falls a bit short for a lot of people since he does lower superclass allies attack, and that often limits his use to being on Realm of Gods or Future Saga teams made up of just extreme class units, even though he does have a good number of categories. Not a bad card, but definitely not the best this banner has to offer. Physical Super Vegito is the current Majin Buu Saga leader with a solid kit overall, 50% damage reduction on normals and gains 10% attack per normal received. The main issues with this guy are that he doesn't hit all that hard until pretty late into the fight, and his tanking is somewhat limited since he doesn't have damage reduction on super. The big thing for me is that, like Int Gogeta, Vegito is overshadowed by Agility Vegito's Easy A, but unfortunately for him, he came out much later than Int Gogeta, so we won't be seeing a buff anytime soon for this guy. Int, LR Goku, and Vegeta, just like the physical alternative on the Gogeta banner, are extremely good with or without their fusion active. You can consider them the slightly more defensive version of their physical counterpart, so pulling them is always worth it. Now comes the lump of coal in the pile of diamonds, transforming Super Buu. You know there's a problem when all you really have to say about a card is that they're just alright. His leader skill is good though, he does lead transformation boost, so if you don't have cooler, you can run this leader instead, which has both of the new LRs on it, so that's pretty good. He also has a good amount of categories, it's just that his performance overall is just a bit underwhelming relatively speaking. Tech Trunks leads the Future Saga category and is a pretty good card in general. Good base attack and defense boost of 100% along with his first transformation, which he'll be spending most of the battle in, has the Cow Ken effect for both attack and defense, which makes him one of the best late stage cards in the game. And even early in the fight, it doesn't take very long for him to really start getting to work. You can run him on 8 different categories, so you won't have any trouble finding a team to run him on, since most of them are really good teams. Next up we have AGL transforming Zamasu, who leads the Realm of Gods team. He doesn't have defense boost like Trunks, but he does have 40% damage reduction across the board, so even on super he takes lower damage. He has solid attack boost and health recovery when HP drops below 80% once in his first transformed state, and just like Trunks, this is the state he'll be spending most of the time in. 7 categories to run him on, including the new Last Resort, which is very good. I wouldn't say he's as good as Trunks, but definitely a very good unit to have. Now we're at one of the most important cards on the banner, AGL LR Super Saiyan Gohan. He leads the Kamehameha category, which is famously one of the strongest teams in the game, and he's one of the best units defensively, along with being able to deal some big damage with the base 100% stat boost, plus gaining an extra 10% boost to attack and defense for 7 turns. Unfortunately, his transformation restriction keeps him in the base Super Saiyan form for most of the fight, but even without the transformation, you won't have a problem steamrolling events with him. He boasts over 10 different categories, so easily one of the most versatile units you can have. Again, skipping over to the new General Pool SSR before getting into the new LR, we have Super Saiyan Trunks as the new sub-lead for Joined Forces. This unit is able to do all the crazy damage numbers and tanking that Bardock can do, but instead of an active that clears us of debuffs, he can increase his own attack by an insane 600% while performing a critical and stunning all in the same attack. This can only be activated when Trunks or Maya are also on the team, but for the price, it's absolutely worth the insane numbers he's capable of putting out. This card only has 5 categories, which is only 1 more than Bardock, but Trunks is actually on the Last Resort category, unlike Bardock, so we can actually run this unit with a new leader skill. Finally, we have Tech LR Vegito, leader of the Last Resort and Potara categories. He has similar ability to Gogeta, so great attack and defense with the additional attacks as well as the evasion in the third slot. Essentially, they are the same unit when transformed, although unfortunately Vegito isn't super effective against all in the first two slots and instead gains more ki throughout the turns following his transformation. He has 7 categories in total, a decent amount of them he shares with Gogeta, but he does have one more category available to him. Again, not necessarily relative to the Gogeta banner, I would rate this banner a 9 out of 10. I rated it this high because really the only blemish on the banner is the transforming Super Buu, and even then his leader skill can be useful. This, along with the fact that merged Zamasu isn't everyone's cup of tea, does hold the banner back a tiny bit. Overall though, we have a great selection of featured units on this banner, most of which can be run on the same teams like Future Saga or Realm of Gods without much issue. Now comparing the banners to each other, unit to unit, just to get a quick overview of the individual card worth on each banner. Vegito Blue is outright better than Janemba. In my opinion, Omega is better than Zamasu by just a bit, but Zamasu does take the edge in team versatility. Super Vegito and Super Gogeta are both good, but until he gets an easy A, Gogeta does show how he's aged somewhat poorly. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is clearly the winner between these two, and LR Goku and Vegeta counterparts are essentially equals. Trunks and Gogeta are both very good top tier TURs with a lot going for them, and I think they both have equal value on their banners. Zamasu on Broly is a very similar situation in which it's a bit of a toss up on which is considered the better between the two, but their value on the banner is equally high. LR Gohan, although more restricted on the transformation than Cell is, he's just more useful overall and much more versatile, so he gets to take the win here. Bardock and Trunks is an easy tie in value for me, but between the two units, I'd say Bardock is likely the more versatile of the two, but Trunks and Mai are just slightly more impressive. Just like with the Year 3 LRs, Vegito and Gogeta are essentially just two halves of the same coin. Both very good top tier LRs, but just too similar to make the exact call on which is better. This value comparison, along with the fact that the Vegito banner has units with better overall chemistry than those on the Gogeta banner, make the Vegito banner better to summon on in my opinion. I personally am going to be summoning for Vegito regardless of banner value though, so I tried to be as unbiased as I could with this overview. Are you convinced that the Vegito banner is the better banner? If not, go ahead and discuss in the comments and let me know what banner you're summoning on and why. If you enjoyed this video, please like and leave a comment with ideas for future videos you want to see. If you didn't like the video, go ahead and leave a dislike and let me know what you think I could be doing better moving forward. But for now, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you next time.